Alright, we're trapped. We gotta find a way to get you out of here safely and that you won't be able to get shot as I am protecting you. Are you crazy? I'm the one that's more valuable here, and I'm not the one who just tied me up with his own belt. I mean, ugh. I can almost see your pants sagging from here. Come on, let me get untied and then I'll figure a way out so we both don't get our asses handed to us. Are you kidding me? Look, I am a professional bodyguard and you are a lethal assassin. So you're better off safe with me. Hey, where'd you go? Where's my gun? I am such a horrible bodyguard. What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for The Hitman's Bodyguard. Now, the plot basically follows a bodyguard played by Ryan Reynolds who is hired to protect a hitman played by Samuel L. Jackson who has to testify at the International Court of Justice against a merciless Eastern European dictator played by Gary Oldman. There's just one problem though. The hitman and his bodyguard do not get along and shenanigans ensue. Going into this movie, I was not looking forward to it. I had pretty low expectations for this film right after I saw the first trailer for it, and it looked awful. It looked like a bad parody of The Bodyguard starring Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, right down to where Houston's famous I Will Always Love You song was playing throughout the background of the trailer. Except this movie is not necessarily a parody of The Bodyguard, it just uses a similar concept to an action comedic effect. Speaking of Houston, her birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Whitney Houston. I will always love you and your amazing voice. Speaking of recent birthdays too, as of this recording of this video, August 10th, 2017, it's my birthday! Yes, thank you. I am now officially 20 years old. I've been alive and around on this planet for 2 decades now. Wow, that is a long time, but here's to many more. But anyway, back to the movie at hand that I am currently talking about, The Hitman's Bodyguard. So you're probably asking yourself, why did you even see this movie, and early no less, if you were not looking forward to it? Well, thanks to my local theater chain, I was able to see The Hitman's Bodyguard early and for free last night. So yeah, I could not turn down a free early screening for a movie, even if it is for one that I had skepticism for going into it. Every movie I see anyway, I have the slightest of hopes of enjoying, plus it's my birthday. So that means my optimism that I am brimming into this review means that I saw an enjoyable film, right? Right? Well, I can say right off the bat for this movie that performance-wise, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson are really good in this movie. Their chemistry together is hysterical as they play a hitman and a bodyguard that have beef with each other, and seeing the camaraderie between each other and being an odd couple of sorts was pretty entertaining. I really am not a fan of Ryan Reynolds. I have said that in the past, but I've really started to come around to him after I saw and reviewed Deadpool, where he was outstanding in that movie. And in The Hitman's Bodyguard in particular, he plays the bodyguard in this film, yet he plays the straight man in this movie between him and Jackson. Usually it's Reynolds cracking jokes throughout any movie that he's in, but he is actually straight-laced and serious in this movie as this professional bodyguard. And Jackson, of course, on the other hand, he's the one cracking jokes in this movie. I love Samuel L. Jackson. Who doesn't? I love him in just about anything he's in. And in this movie, he is undeniably hilarious, trying to one-up Reynolds in almost every scene, and he is just as useful with a gun as Reynolds' character in this movie, as he is a lethal hitman that you do not want to mess with. The rest of the supporting cast in this movie does include, as I've mentioned before, Gary Oldman as the merciless Eastern European dictator of the film, he is notable for his villainous roles. He is one of, if not my absolute favorite actor working today. Yet I'm sorry to say that he is wasted in this movie. He really only shows up in the first section of the film and the finale of the film. And it's nothing wrong with his performance, but it's just that he really wasn't utilized well, and I didn't feel the big menace of him throughout the film. Other supporting players include Elodie Yung as the ex of Ryan Reynolds' character. She's also an agent who gets roped up into all of this. She is stunning, and she also does a pretty superb job in this film. And then finally we have Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek, yes. She plays the wife of Samuel L. Jackson's character, who is in prison the whole time in this movie. And the reason Jackson's character is testifying against Oldman's character at the International Court of Justice is to get his wife, Salma Hayek, out of prison. She is hilarious in this movie. She doesn't have that much to do either like Oldman's character. She is in more scenes than Oldman's character, but the screen time that she does have, she is really humorous here. Basically, everyone in this movie does solid jobs. The writing in this movie is pretty simple at its core. Like I said, it's very bare bones in concept, just having a bodyguard protect a hitman and get him to the International Court of Justice without having him get killed so that he can testify against the villain of the film. So a huge chunk of this movie is basically like a buddy cop sort of movie mixed with like a road trip kind of movie, somewhere along those lines. It's not exactly beat for beat like those respective genres, but it has shades of it in between. That makes this movie surprisingly entertaining to watch throughout, but also brings out its biggest issue in that it is really formulaic, pretty cliche in many areas. What with some of the dialogue being a lot of signature Samuel L. Jackson lines, with motherfucker being thrown in every other sentence, but also just going through the motions of seeing two characters bicker with one another, even if it's really funny to see. But also there are romantic beats in there that have to do with flashbacks with both the hitman and his bodyguard in their respective love interests and how they meet each other. It's basically stuff like that that at times really noticeably made me think, oh yeah, this is like something I've seen before. I mean, it tries to tribute other movies by Shane Black that he's either written and directed, kind of like the Lethal Weapon movies, The Nice Guys from last year, sort of similar to what this movie does, except what this movie does in particular is be really over the top, especially with its action. The action scenes in this movie are ridiculous, yet they are hilarious at the same time, like I've said, with the humor. It's pretty obvious that there's quite a bit of CGI used in this movie, especially with the explosions and other things that are set on fire. The CGI fire in this movie straight up looks bad. But with some of the practical effects and stunts that were noticeable in the movie, they were really nicely filmed. At times, the movie got questionable in the way it shoots some of the action to elsewhere, like with the hand-to-hand combat sequences. Sometimes you see the punching too close together with a lot of edits and cuts with the way the camera is shown into a lot of the frame itself. But for everything else that has a wide shot, like with a motorcycle car chase that turns into a boat chase at one point in the movie, it's exhilarating to say the least, and it's still in the over-the-top fashion that the movie sets up for itself, but a lot of blood is spurted everywhere, and for some reason, the hitman and his bodyguard are able to shoot perfect headshots to every crony that comes after them. The pacing of this movie is well timed throughout. The movie runs at about a little under 2 hours. I really only started to feel the running time at the end when the big finale of sorts does happen and we get the familiar showdown with the villain, who really didn't show up in the movie at all until the very end, other than his introduction at the beginning. But for what this movie does, all in all, it's pretty standard in what it does. But what really surprised me was how the chemistry between Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds together really made this movie hysterical. This is a gut-bustingly funny movie throughout. Like I said, with the dialogue, just the way Reynolds and Jackson are just nearing at each other, really trying to see who has the better insults and comebacks. That's what made this movie really, really funny in the end. I'm sure my audience can say so for themselves because my audience was cracking up throughout this movie, and it was really infectious that it rubbed off a lot on me because there were some really nicely timed gags and insults used in the film. Now, I'm not saying that this is a great movie by any means. Of course, there are noticeable problems in this movie like I've mentioned before, but this is by no means either an atrocious movie. I expected a lot worse going into this film, and in the end, I was surprisingly entertained with how decent of a watch this movie is. This is an okay movie that really delivers in what it goes for if you know what to expect going in. If you're expecting ridiculous laughs and action, this movie certainly delivers on that in spades, especially since this movie is amusing unto itself for Reynolds and Jackson together in it. For that, I cautiously recommend it. So yeah, I saw a movie that I thought looked horrible, but ended up coming out of it thinking it was okay. It exceeded some of my expectations. But since today is my birthday, the best part of all of this today is I got cake. Birthday ice cream cake from Oberweis. Ah, yes. So good. What are you all still doing here? All right. You guys want my score for this movie. Okay. Well, my final verdict for The Hitman's Bodyguard is 3 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of The Hitman's Bodyguard, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review. This cake is so